Thank you so much for all the love and support. If you're enjoying this, please subscribe and also check out my new channel, Female Chronicles. The link is in the description. Your support truly means the world. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas. The carved wooden bookmark was sitting on my register when I opened the store that morning. No note, no explanation, just one word etched into the honey-colored oak: stay. My hands trembled as I picked it up. I knew who made it. I knew those hands, the calluses on his palms, the way sawdust always lingered in the creases of his knuckles. What I didn't know was why he'd left it here, or why he'd disappeared 3 days ago without a word. My name is Mira. I'm 31 and I manage a bookstore in Seattle. This is the story of how I learned that some people leave so they can find their way back. I met Nathan Holloway 6 weeks before that bookmark appeared. It was one of those gray October afternoons where the rain turns the city into something softer, quieter. I was crouched behind a bottom shelf, reaching for a book that had slipped behind the wooden case, my fingers just brushing the spine, when a voice came from directly behind me. "Need a hand?" I jerked upright and nearly crashed into his chest. He stepped back just in time, hands raised, a crooked smile already forming on his face. Tall, dark hair pushed back carelessly, eyes the color of deep water, the kind you know is cold but want to jump into anyway. I wasn't. I started, then caught myself. "Okay, yes, I was losing a battle with furniture." He laughed, a low sound that settled somewhere in my ribcage. Without asking permission, he crouched down and reached into the gap, his shoulder brushing past me. His jacket smelled like cedar and something warmer underneath. He retrieved the book easily and held it out to me. "The Sun Also Rises." Hemingway. Of course. "Fitting," he said, nodding at the cover. "Man who can't commit. Woman who deserves better." I raised an eyebrow. "You've read it?" "3 times. Still don't like Jake Barnes." He extended his hand. "I'm Nathan." His palm was rough and warm. The handshake lasted exactly 1 second too long. He started coming in every few days after that, never at the same time. I couldn't predict him, couldn't prepare myself, but always with the same quiet intensity. He'd browse the shelves with his hands behind his back like he was visiting a museum. Sometimes he bought a paperback. Sometimes he just sat in the corner with black coffee and read until the light outside went amber. I told myself I wasn't watching the door. I told myself the flutter in my chest when he walked in was just caffeine. Lies come easy when you've spent 2 years protecting the same bruise. 3 weeks in, he stayed until closing. "You always work alone this late?" he asked, leaning against the counter while I counted the register. "It's not that late." "It's almost 9, dark out. You walk home?" I looked up at him. His expression wasn't flirtatious. It was something closer to concern, genuine, uncomfortable. "I'm fine," I said. "I've been doing this for 3 years." Nathan nodded slowly. "I'm sure you're capable. That wasn't my question." I lost count of the ones and had to start over. "Yes, I walk. It's 6 blocks." He didn't offer to walk me home. He just said, "Good night, Mira," and left. But the next evening, when I locked up and stepped outside, he was waiting on the corner with 2 coffees. "Coincidence," he said, handing me one. "You're a terrible liar." "I know." That smile again. "Walk with me anyway?" We walked. That night and the next. He told me about his work. Custom furniture, handcrafted pieces for restaurants and hotels. He'd been in Portland before this, San Francisco before that. He traveled with his tools and stayed until the project was done. Then he moved on. "Sounds lonely," I said one night, watching steam rise from my cup. "Sometimes." He was quiet for a moment. "But lonely is controllable. It's safer than the alternative." I understood that more than he knew. I'd been engaged once. To a man named Daniel, who was kind and stable and absolutely certain about our future. He had spreadsheets for our wedding, our house, our children's college funds. He had everything planned. And one morning I woke up beside him and realized I felt nothing. Not anger, not love, just a hollow kind of numbness that had crept in so slowly I hadn't noticed until it consumed everything. I ended it 8 months before the wedding. I'd been paying for that decision ever since. My mother still brought him up at every holiday, still reminded me that Daniel owned his own home now and Daniel just made partner and you're not getting any younger, Mira. I hadn't told Nathan any of this, but somehow I think he saw it anyway. "You pull away sometimes," he said one evening. We were sitting on the floor of the bookstore after hours, sharing leftover scones from the cafe counter. Right when things feel good, you get this look. What look? Like you're waiting for the exit. The words hit harder than they should have. I set down my scone. "You're one to talk," I said quietly. "You've already told me you always leave, so what am I supposed to do with that?" Nathan didn't answer right away. He looked down at his hands, turned them over, studied the calluses and scars like they were telling him something. "I don't know," he finally said. "I've never wanted to stay before." The air between us changed. I could feel the warmth of his knee almost touching mine, could smell that cedar again, could hear my own heartbeat in the silence. "That's not fair," I whispered. "You can't say things like that when you're just going to." "I know." His voice was rough. "I know it's not fair." He left that night without touching me. I told myself it was for the best. 2 days later, I was shelving returns when the bell chimed. I looked up expecting a customer and froze. Daniel was standing in my doorway. He looked the same, clean-shaven, expensive coat, that confident posture that used to make me feel safe, and now just made me feel trapped. He smiled like no time had passed at all. "Mira, you look good." I gripped the books in my arms. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" "I was in the city for work. Thought I'd stop by." He stepped closer, looking around the shop with that appraising expression I remembered. "Still doing this, huh?" Still doing this. Like my life was a phase I hadn't grown out of. "Yes," I said evenly. "Still doing this. Look, I know it's been a while, but I've been thinking about us, about what happened." He tilted his head, gave me that practiced sympathetic look. "I think we ended things too soon. We were good together, Mira. We made sense." I opened my mouth to respond, to tell him no, to tell him that making sense was never the problem. When the bell chimed again, Nathan walked in carrying coffee. He stopped when he saw Daniel. I watched his gaze move from Daniel's face to mine. Something shifted in his expression, a hardening, like a door closing. "Sorry," Nathan said, voice flat. "Didn't mean to interrupt." "You're not," I said quickly. "Daniel was just leaving." Daniel looked between us with sudden understanding. Then he smiled, a small, knowing smile that made my stomach turn. "I see," he said. "Well, good luck with that, Mira." He walked past Nathan without acknowledgement and out the door. The silence he left behind was suffocating. "Ex-fiancé," I said finally, "from 2 years ago. I didn't invite him here." Nathan set the coffees on the counter. "You don't owe me an explanation." "I know I don't. I'm giving you one anyway." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "This is exactly why I don't do this," he said, almost to himself. "Because the minute you care about someone, the minute you let yourself want something." "Nathan, I saw your face when he walked in. You went white. He still gets to you." He surprised me. "That's different." "Is it?" Nathan's jaw was tight. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're not over him. Or maybe you're just not ready to let anyone else in." The accusation stung because it wasn't entirely wrong. I had been holding back. I had been waiting for the exit. But that didn't mean— "That's not fair," I said. "You don't get to be angry at me for being careful when you've already told me you're leaving." "I never said I was leaving." "You never said you were staying either." We stared at each other across the counter. The rain picked up outside, drumming against the windows. Nathan exhaled slowly. "I got offered a contract. In Vancouver. 3 months minimum, maybe longer. They want me there next week." The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. "When did you find out?" "This morning." He ran a hand through his hair. "I was going to tell you tonight. I was going to, I don't know, figure out what this is, what we are. But now." "Now what?" "Now I think maybe you're right. Maybe I should just go." He grabbed his coffee and walked out before I could respond. That was 3 days ago. Daniel never contacted me again after that afternoon. No calls, no texts, no more surprise visits. Whatever closure he'd been looking for, he must have found it in that knowing smile as he walked out the door. For 3 days, I replayed every conversation we'd ever had, every almost touch, every loaded silence, every moment I'd pulled back because I was scared. Nathan wasn't Daniel. He wasn't safe or predictable or planned, but maybe that was exactly why he terrified me. I almost called him 100 times. I didn't. And then, this morning, the bookmark appeared. Stay. I turned it over in my hands, ran my finger along the carved letters. He'd made this for me. He'd come here in the dark, left it on my register, and walked away. But he'd also told me to stay. I grabbed my coat and ran. The rain soaked through my jacket before I'd gone 2 blocks, but I didn't slow down. I cut through Pioneer Square and crossed under the viaduct, my boots splashing through puddles as I made my way east toward the industrial district where Nathan kept his workshop. Nathan's temporary workshop was in a garage on the east side of the city. I'd only been there once. He'd shown me photos of a dining table he was building for a family who'd lost everything in a fire. I remembered the address because he'd written it on the back of a receipt, and I'd kept the receipt in my wallet like a secret. The rain was relentless. By the time I reached the garage, my hair was plastered to my face and my coat was soaked through. The door was half open, light spilling out into the gray afternoon. He was inside, bent over a workbench, hands moving across a piece of unfinished wood. He didn't hear me come in. "Stay," I said. Nathan's hands stilled. He straightened slowly and turned around. I held up the bookmark. "You told me to stay, but you're the one who keeps leaving." "Mira? No, let me finish." I stepped closer, water dripping from my sleeves. "You were right, about all of it. I have been waiting for the exit. I've been so scared of feeling something real that I almost let you walk away without a fight." Nathan didn't move, didn't breathe. "Daniel wasn't wrong for me because he was too safe," I continued. "He was wrong because I never felt anything. With you, I feel everything, and that terrifies me. But I'm done running from it." The silence stretched between us, filled with sawdust and rain and the weight of everything we hadn't said. "I don't know how to do this," Nathan said finally. His voice was hoarse. "I've never stayed anywhere. I've never let myself want something I couldn't pack into a truck." "I know. Vancouver is a real opportunity. Good money, long-term work. I know that too." He took a step toward me. "But I meant what I carved on that bookmark. I want you to stay. I want to be someone worth staying for." "Then prove it." I was close enough now to see the sawdust on his collar, the uncertainty in his eyes. "Don't take the Vancouver job, or take it, but come back. Either way, stop treating this like something you're going to lose." Nathan reached out and cupped my face in his calloused hands. "What if I hurt you? Then we'll figure it out. Together." He kissed me, not gently, desperately, like he'd been holding back for weeks and finally let go. His hands tangled in my wet hair, and I gripped his jacket like an anchor, and somewhere in the background the rain hammered against the roof like applause. When we finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Nathan rested his forehead against mine. "I'm not taking the Vancouver job," he said. "Are you sure? I already called them this morning, before I left the bookmark." He laughed softly. "I was hoping you'd come find me." I hit his shoulder. "You could have just told me. Where's the romance in that?" We stood there for a long moment, wrapped in each other, listening to the storm outside. I thought about all the books I'd read about love, the grand gestures, the dramatic declarations, the perfect endings. None of them felt quite like this. This was messier, scarier, more uncertain, but it was real. 3 months later, Nathan had a permanent workshop in Seattle. I had a key to his apartment, and he had one to mine. We weren't perfect. We still fought about his tendency to disappear into his work and my habit of overthinking everything. But we showed up. Every day we chose each other. On our first anniversary, he gave me another carved bookmark. This one had 2 words on it. I stayed. I cried right there in the bookstore, right in front of the customers and the coffee and the shelves, full of other people's love stories. Happy tears, relieved tears, the kind that come when you finally stop running and realize the person beside you isn't going anywhere. Some love stories announce themselves with fireworks and fate. Ours started with a fallen book, a crooked smile, and 2 people brave enough to stop leaving. Nathan stayed, and so did I. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, 0 cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.